It needs it, that's for sure.
And then, you know, you're working over that thing, and you're just sweating, it's just pouring off. I'm like, oh, that's disgusting.
Good evening, and welcome to the June 12, 2018 regular school board meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. And welcome everyone out in viewing land. Thank you all for coming, and I look forward to all the presentations tonight. I know we have several recognitions, so we'll get started. We'll have opening exercises, roll call. Ms.
James
Wickham?
Edwards,
Here.
Alan Getty,
Here.
Dr. Kathleen Pittman,
Here.
Ruben Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kurt,
Yes. And now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Cole. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Now we'll have a moment of appreciation led by Mr. Tackett.
I found a little story today that I want to share, and I promise it won't take very long. Okay?
Take your time.
And if you drive out north of town toward Albuquerque, you can probably see two large figures out there, one on each side of the highway, pointing at each other. Made me think about this. It says two brothers who lived on adjoining farms had an argument one day. And for over 20 years, they had worked together, sharing things, borrowing from one another, trading off labor for things they needed from each other, only to be divided by a small stream. Then one day, it happened. One of the brothers decided he would widen the stream. So in digging a ditch to his farm, he made the ditch between the two farms wider, and his older brother thought, he did this just to annoy me. I can't stand him anymore. And then one day the older brother heard a knock at the door, and he goes to the door, and there's a man there with a carpenter box. And he said, I'm looking for work. Do you have anything I can help you with for a few days? Yes, said the older brother, I do have a job for you. Look across the creek at that farm. That's my neighbor. In fact, it's my younger brother, and we don't get along. And it's all his fault. Last week, he dug a wider passage for the water into his farm, and now we can't cross the creek. I want you to build me something so that we don't have to stand and look at each other all day. Then he told the man that he had to go to town and get some supplies, and while he was gone, the carpenter got busy. He finished his work just as the older brother was driving up from town. The older brother's eyes opened wide and his jaw dropped. He was so shocked and surprised at what he saw. It was not what he was hoping for nor what he had imagined, but rather it was a bridge stretching from one side to the other side of the creek. And to his surprise, when he looked across, he saw his younger brother running with open arms. He ran up and gave him a hug, and he said, "You are truly my hero. You are so humble. After all I have done to you and said about you, you still care. I can see it." The moral of the story is you get farther when you work together. Our district needs to be united, folks. Our community needs to be united. Our staff, our students, we're all as a family. And we can get so much farther can give so much more to our students if we unite ourselves. Join me at this time in a moment of silent appreciation for all those who work hard, work diligently to establish and maintain unity within our district, among our students, with our parents, and with our community partners. Join me. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tackett. Okay, moving on to recognitions. Family of Mr. Don Ford, is that Ms. Sanchez and Mr. Edwards?
At this time, if I could have the members of Mr. Ford's family join us. I'm gonna turn this way so they can hear me. On behalf of the Roswell Independent School District, this plaque is presented to the family of Don Ford in his recognition and appreciation for his dedicated service and contributions to the students and the staff of the Roswell Independent School District on June 12, 2018.
Would you like to say a few words? I'm sorry, I caught you at an emotional time. You're more than welcome.
My dad, he had such a big heart. He constantly did for his students. I remember one time he calls me up and he says, "Are you still making mums?" And I said, "Yeah, but homecoming's like right around the corner, Dad. It's like tomorrow." And he says, "Well, I have this student and she needs mums, and can you put something together?" And so he literally had me put these mums together overnight for his student to be able to go to homecoming with a mom instead of being not. I don't know, I'm sure most of you guys know him. He was this town Santa Claus, the town firefighter. He was constantly putting out there for everybody else. So this means a lot to us to see how many people really recognize him and appreciated what he did. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I have a presentation for Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, if you would join me. This presentation is for Excellent Student Achievement Award. NMSBA is presenting in conjunction with the Roswell Independent School District School Board Association in cooperation with the local Board of Education in recognition of the outstanding role played in improvement of student achievement. This award is for 2018. Our business officials in the business department add so much to the education of our children. They're one of the less recognized departments within the district. Everybody recognizes the schools, the principals, the leadership team at our ISD, but the business department is the one that's the least recognized, and so I think this is well deserved for our business department, and this goes to Mr. Cole and his team. Thank you. Got it? Okay.
I have no clue what to say. It's kind of unusual. I thank you. I thank the board. I'm humbled by it. I'm honored by it. You all know that what we're doing here can't be achieved without the support of the board and without the support of the staff. And the amazing thing is we've got great people, just fabulous people. I thank you.
The next award goes to GHS FFA, and this is long awaited. And if I could have Ms. Sanchez and the FFA come forward.
Madam President, members of the board, I would like to let you know how this came about. I received a phone call in April from the superintendent in Estancia School District, and I introduced myself. I'm thinking, you know, why is he calling me? And he just says, are you the superintendent? I said, I'm the interim superintendent. And he says, I would like to tell you what happened over the weekend. You might have already heard. And I was like, no. And I'm kind of like, what happened with my FFA? And I was like, could you explain a little bit? And he said, let me tell you what came across. I got to notice that your students from Goddard High School and Mr. Matthews' students were here at a competition, was it in Albuquerque? Las Cruces. And they have outstanding character. And so I'm listening and I'm thinking, what happened? And then he said, let me tell you briefly what I know. And so he explained to me that the students went to the competition, and in an event, they were scored first place. And I'm just going to make this short. As they get back, they go to the dance. They're excited. They got first place in this event. They're cheering it on. They know that they've made it to a national competition to be able to go to. Lo and behold, to find out that when Mr. Matthews and I believe the team looked at the scores, the scoring was not correct. When they looked at it and realized that they could appeal it, because in the FFA rules, according to Mr. Matthews when I visited with him, once the designation is made, they can keep that. The students said, no, we did not earn that. The students from Estancia did. We want to take the plaque and the banner. And now this is late at night. To the group that are staying at the hotel, to let them know that they deserved it and they earned this award. I want to thank you for what your students did on representation and representing the Roswell Independent School District and Goddard High School. And I just got the chills. I thought, oh gosh, I got to go do something. So I called Mr. Luck. I said, I heard this amazing story. I need to go visit with Mr. Matthews. I would like to recognize there's 5 of you. There's one not here today. But yeah, there's 5. And I said I would like to recognize them. The board meeting had already passed, and we were going to have it at the April board meeting, but there was the 4.0 banquet, and these students were involved in that, so it conflicted, so we couldn't do it at that time. But it was so important to me that I took the time and I went and found him and asked Mr. Matthews if he could round him up there at Goddard High School. We went to the ag class, and I told the story amongst their peers there to recognize them for their outstanding character and what they did, and in representing not only Goddard High School, but the students of the Roswell Independent School District. And so at this time, I would like to recognize these 5 individuals for their great outstanding character, for their accomplishment in representing us that well.
And I just found out 2 of the members of the team, the Morley girls, were my students when I was the principal at El Capitan. So they learned their character in elementary. Dad, thank you for that story.
So at this time, when you hear your name, if you'll come up, and we will we'll shake hands with the board, and we'll give you your certificates.
Caleb Doss.
Caleb's not here. Okay. We'll give it to Mr. Webb.
Chandler Hatch. Kelsey Morley. Good job. Congratulations. Tim Hartwell. Congratulations. And Lana Morley. Congratulations. Congratulations, awesome story, great character.
Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, and I know that
Thank you.
next year you all have a challenge to go up there and win that event, so we're looking forward to that. So good luck and thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to state track meet. Mr. Byrd.
Madam President Kirk, Superintendent Sanchez, members of the board, over the last month or so of school with the spring events taking place, we actually had 3 state champions within track and field. We had 2 from Goddard High School and 1 from Roswell High School. Unfortunately, all 3 athletes are out of town, weren't able to get here tonight, but I do want to speak briefly on behalf of those 3 athletes. The first athlete I'd like to recognize is Destiny Lawrence. She was the state champion in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter dash. She also received the High Point Award for scoring the most points of any individual at the state track meet. So
Wow. That's awesome.
the next athlete is John Flores. He was the state champion in both the shot put and discus, winning both events on the final throw at that event. So congratulations to John. The one individual from Roswell High School, Josiah Reese, was the state champion in the high jump with a jump of 6 feet 2 inches.
Wow. Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Byrd, I will have these for you also when you pick up the other. Oh, you want it? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now that brings us to the inquiries and general comments from the audience. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested time to speak? Okay. Members of the public are reminded that matters of concern may be referred to another source for disposition and will probably be deferred to a subsequent meeting. It is usually not the best interest of the district, the board, or the public to enter into discussion or take action without proper research and study. Speakers are requested to limit their comments to 3 minutes and must be signed in with the executive assistant to the superintendent prior to the opening of the meeting. Comments will be timed with a warning given when there are 30 seconds left and when time is up. Any matters regarding specific district personnel or students may not be discussed in public comment. Citizens may have matters of interest brought before the Board of Education for action or discussion through the regularly prepared agenda by filing a written request with their district board member at least 1 week in advance of the meeting in accordance with our ISD board policy. 2 board members may request the item be placed on the agenda. Copies of the board policy 1500 and 1630 are available on request through the superintendent's office. All persons in attendance or making public comment at board meetings shall conduct themselves in a dignified and respectful manner, exhibiting proper social decorum, confine their comments to matters germane to the business of the district, avoid references, statements, or conduct reasonably likely to result in disruption or undue delay in the orderly transaction of business scheduled for consideration of the board. Refrain from interfering with functions and duties of the members of the board, staff, and the presentation of any speakers. Refrain from using language or statements which may be reasonably construed to be insulting or tend to violence or breach of the peace, including profanity, obscenity, or other breach of respect. Refrain from cumulative, redundant, or repetitive remarks. Please have 1 speaker from any particular group representing the entire group. Ms. Whitcamp, would you please allow that 1 person to, or the next person to come forward?
Ms. Dawson.
Ms. Dawson, please approach.
I would just like to thank the district for the professional attitude in our recent collective bargaining. We collaborated, we didn't fight, we didn't we weren't opponents. We collaborated for the betterment of the school district. And that's something that has not happened in the past 5 years at least. But this year it did, and I think we got what all of us wanted. Not everything. I wanted, you know, a lot more money for me, but but we got decent salary raises, and for every employee in our bargaining unit, and we appreciate that. And we gave up some things, and that's okay, because that's what being a collaborator does. You give up some and you get some, and that's okay. And I look forward to working with these people again, because they were wonderful to work with. And I had a great team as well.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Ms. Whitcamp, anyone else? Anyone? Okay. Okay, then, now we move on to approval of the minutes. The regular school board meeting minutes of May 8th, 2018, and the special board meeting, May 21st, 2018.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 8th, 2018, and the special board meeting of May 21st, 2018.
Board members, are there any corrections, deletions to the minutes? Having heard none, I would stand for a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Dr. Pittman made the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The board minutes of the regular school board meeting of May 8th and the special board meeting of May 21st, 2018 stand as approved. Thank you. We will now have action items. Systems Go class.
Madam President, members of the board, I would like to approve the recommendation of adding the Systems Go class to the high school.
Board members, any discussion? I would like to have a little bit more information about it. Mr. Tackett, would you mind sharing with us?
I'd be glad to. President, Ms. Kirk, Interim Superintendent Ms. Sanchez, members of the board. The Systems Go program has been in our state for several years. Many of the school districts, and large school districts like us, or even small school districts like Lake Arthur down to the south, have participated in the program. There's several courses in the Systems Go program. The three that we have, of those three, if you look at the third page from the back of your packet, this is the primary course that the others lead up to, that was recommended by Mr. Wilden that we go ahead and offer beginning this fall at our high schools. And this is the course in which they actually build a rocket each semester, and it's pretty much a performance-based project. Their final grade is determined how well their rocket performs and flies. And I know Dr. McElroy has participated in this at Loving, so she's at Loving, and she's very, very familiar with it. The impressive thing is we have a staff member, when he was in the military, worked with rockets, and that's Mr. Chad Cole. So I promised him that he would be allowed to go watch the launches for a little bit of merit pay, I guess. But I will not accept a purchase order. No, seriously, the rocket in the fall is a smaller type rocket, and it's required to fly, carry a 1-pound payload and go to at least a mile high. The one in the spring is a larger rocket, and one of the requirements for that rocket is to break the sound barrier. Wow. So, you know, this is something that our students will have an opportunity to do, and there are people that on the judges panel that evaluate the performance of the rocket sometimes from NASA, from the manufacturing company in California that manufactures rockets. They will have them brought in to help with the launch and so forth. And it's just, I saw some videos of kids doing this, and it's an amazing opportunity for our students here in Roswell.
Awesome.
And a
Sounds
plus, one more thing.
Okay, one more.
A plus, there's no requirement, special requirements for the teacher other than they must be very enthusiastic and a real go-getter to motivate those students. Because they build this thing from scratch.
Wow, interesting. Thank you. Board members, any other discussion?
I want to point out that this is a great career entry. I was telling Mr. Tackett before the meeting started that my grandson took these courses in Alabama, and he was notified last week, he'll be a senior, that he got a co-op with an engineering firm. He won't be doing, he won't be a gopher. He'll be actually working with them, putting data into the computer and using his AutoCAD experience, his other engineering coursework. Now he's going into engineering. What could be better for a kid like this than to get some hands-on before they get away from home or before they get out of school? So I am just thrilled that we're going forward in this. Thank you.
Thank you. So the name of the course is going to be Systems Go, and then, is that correct, Mr.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Principles of Applied Engineering and Engineering Design and Presentation, and then Scientific Research and Design?
Yes.
And this will be offered to all high school students, or is it grade level specific?
He recommended, but we put in 9 through 12. He recommended the first course we offer in actually building the rocket he recommended grades 11 and 12.
Okay.
He said many of the larger districts have students in grades 9 and 10 that participate in the program.
Nice. I have a 10th grader that's going into engineering, so I will look for the course. Thank you.
Poor mom, poor Max. Mom knows too much.
Any other questions, discussion items? May I have a motion to approve the Systems Go class?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion, second.
Second.
And Mr. Edwards, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Approved. The motion is approved for the Systems Go. Thank you, Mr. Tackett. Number 2, approval to apply for the Walmart Community Grant for Mason Middle School. Ms. Pierce?
Do you want me to make the motion first?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval to apply for the Walmart Community Grant for Mason Middle School under the direction of Ms. Pierce. If you have any questions, she was here.
No? Okay. Not here. Ms. Pierce? Okay. Board members, any discussion?
Do we know what this is about?
Mr. Cole, do you have that application in front of you?
Seen that application.
Okay.
It should be in our packet here.
Oh,
Let's look.
Yeah. Ms. Byrd is involved in the,
Let's see. The Walmart Community Grant.
Got a description?
There it is.
Okay.
there's
Got
no
it.
description. Okay, so
No, there's nothing there.
the community grant, it's Walmart believes in operating global and giving back. Okay, we know they do that.
Do we know how much it is?
Yeah, I don't, it's, the award grant ranges from $250,000 to $5,000.
And do we know what it's going to be used for?
They must meet the following criteria. No.
It- if Ms. Pierce is asking for the approval, it'll be for the food science program over at Mason Middle School.
Okay.
The FCS program.
That's good to know.
Okay.
And do we know how much the grant,
She's gonna ask for it.
I believe once you've applied, then you're
They-
awarded
whatever they
whatever
choose?
they decide.
Gotcha.
150 and 5,000.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, between 250 and 5,000.
Okay.
Okay, well,
At this point, she's asking for approval to apply.
to apply for it.
Yes, she hasn't
Correct.
applied yet.
Gotcha.
She's just asking for approval.
Okay. No further discussion. I would, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Edwards, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Would you let Ms. Byrd know that she is welcome to apply? Title III application, Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend the approval of the Title III application.
Board members, any discussion?
Regular process that we do every year.
Okay. The Title III, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Dr. Pittman, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, the Title III application is approved. Title I grant. Ms. Sanchez?
Madam President, members of the board, I am asking for recommendation for the consolidated Title I grant. The Title I consolidated grant is Title I, Title II, and Title III as that comes through the Public Education Department. We'll stand for any questions.
Any discussion, board members? May I have a motion to approve the Title I grant?
So moved.
Dr. Pittman made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Getty, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Title I grant is approved. Carl Perkins grant.
Madam
Ms.
President, members of the board, I would like to approve the approval of the Carl Perkins grant.
Any discussion? Having heard none, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion, Mr. Getty second. Is that okay, since it was a tie? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, Carl Perkins grant is approved. Migrant grant, Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, this is our other yearly application for the migrant grant. Mrs. Cole has been working diligently on all these grants. Therefore, I recommend approval of the migrant grant.
Yeah, she's been very busy these past couple of months. May I have any discussion?
Just one question on the migrant grant. I know on the last one that we approved, I think we get the parents involved. Is that still part of the process and what is their role? Is it still the same?
Step up, Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just so we can turn the microphone, make sure we get it on the tape. Could you turn that? It's driving me crazy. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Parent involvement is a part of the migrant application. We have to have at least 2 parent meetings a year. So we usually have one in the fall and one in the spring. This past year, we actually partnered with Wings for Life, and they helped us invite parents in and did some academic lessons and some games, and it was a really great family event. Wish we would have had more attendance, but we will work on that this year.
Okay.
Awesome.
And is that just where we have it locally, like at one venue, or do we have it like at individual schools to where we reach out to individual schools and say, hey, parents, we're going to do something for these schools each, or these dates during the year, or is it?
So this year, we had one in the fall semester. It was here at central office, and then the one where we partnered with Wings for Life, we did it at St. Andrew's Church, because Wings for Life uses that for some parent engagement events that they have. Part of our application this year will be actually in moving to site-based parent engagement activities. So we know that we need to do that, and so there's a plan in place for doing that. And we do have local migrant recruiter who's actually housed in Clovis and works with Clovis schools, but she travels to Roswell about once every 3 weeks. And so when we have special events happening at our schools, we invite her to participate in those parent engagement events at the schools to recruit students. And so we try to send Title I staff too. I've been to a few of them.
Well, good. That was one thing that did come from the community is with this grant, if we could, bring it campus-based or site-based at individual schools, just because I think they're kind of used to those schools going in and out every day, and then, versus coming downtown, or it's a little awkward for them. So
Yes.
I think we might get a little more if we, I know it's going to be more work, and we're going to have to
More
look at.
participation.
But, you'll get more participation is what I'm getting. But, if we're looking into it,
Yes, sir.
we're on track. So
We will
thank you.
get it done. Yes, sir.
Especially with those schools with higher migrant population.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the new things, we have our homeless liaison position, and so in doing this work this year, we know that many of our migrant students are also qualifying for homeless.
Wow.
So our homeless liaison will actually be able to work with families and engage them too, so we'll add that
Layer.
piece in
Wow.
to get them
Good.
involved. Okay.
So
Thank you, Mrs.
we'll
Cole.
You're
get them
welcome.
from all sides so they can see all the resources available to them. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's
Yes.
nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other
Thank you.
question?
You might just want to sit there.
Yeah.
because we have a good question.
May I have a motion to approve the migrant grant?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Pittman made the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, migrant grant is approved. After-school program grant, Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the after-school program grant.
Board members, any discussion?
Could we hear something about
Yeah,
it?
may we have,
Is this new?
Um,
Is it different than it has been?
I don't know if it's new, but I think this is our first time to apply for it.
Okay.
In Roswell. And so we looked at, one of the components of this grant is that we know that the data out there says that students tend to get in trouble between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So a lot of the arrest citations happen at that time, and that they are students between the ages of 11 and 15. So our focus with this grant was all 4 of our middle schools. So I solicited some feedback from our principals and assistant principals and looked at discipline data, and so we applied for all 4 of our middle schools to receive funding through this.
Will these be happening at school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
and the time? 3
Uh,
to 5?
3 to 5:30.
5:30. Board members, we do have after-school program by Child Resource and Referral that are in most of the elementary schools and Wings for Life. So this is awesome that we're targeting our middle school kids now. Is there going to be a fee?
There will be no fee.
No fee.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve the after-school program grant?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Getty made the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations, after-school program grant is approved. Moving on to number 8, McKinney-Vento grant. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, this is a new grant to the Roswell Independent School District. Therefore, I do recommend approval of the McKinney-Vento grant. And Ms. Cole, will you talk to the board about what this will do for the district?
Yes. So in the past, we've set aside Title I funds to provide the salary for our homeless liaison. And so through this, so Title I is a supplemental service. So McKinney-Vento is a supplemental service. So we can provide access to students who may need some connections with social workers, or who may need some academic tutoring, or perhaps we have a homeless student who can't afford a cap and gown to graduate. This is the grant that can help fund those needs.
Excellent, thank you.
And is it K through 12, or is it targeted?
It's early childhood through 12, and so just so you know, part of early childhood, for your information, is that we have to provide access to our migrant students and our homeless population as priority service. So we always set aside some of those early childhood slots for those students in case they come into our district. So early childhood through 12.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Dr. Pittman, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Congratulations on the McKinney-Vento grant. Title II, Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, item number 9, Title II, hard to staff. We got a little presumptuous in this one. This application hasn't came out yet, but it's something that Mrs. Cole and the administrative team will be looking at when the application is released. So if we could just mark that one off, we will take that off for a later time.
Okay. Moving on to number 10, Policy 4210, Grading Plan, second reading. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of Policy 4210, the grading plan.
Any discussion?
I have just a quick thing. It's worded weird. We need to just change the wording. I don't know. Did you see it?
No.
Where we crossed out is accredited by National Commission on Schools. When we cross that out, it says honors or AP courses transferred from outside the high school will be considered only if the school or is state accredited, and the course, it's just,
Oh, okay.
just,
So we'll fix the language
Fix
and we'll
it.
send that language out to the board. Thank you.
yeah.
We will fix
I mean,
that
It doesn't have to be.
to read correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Good catch.
Any other comment? Okay, so we're actually approving the policy.
second reading.
Second reading, so we don't have to have, yeah. We do have approval.
Yes.
So
Yes.
with the designated corrections, may I have a motion?
So moved. And a second, whoever you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Pittman made the motion and Mr. Sanchez second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion carries to approve the policy 42, I'm
10.
sorry, 4210, yes. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, I want to thank you for approving this policy. This will definitely assist all of our students, and this will be a great opportunity to provide them that dual credit opportunity and be able to help financially provide them that post-secondary experience. So thank you all for voting this.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Thank you. Okay, moving on to number 11, the 2018-2019 salary schedule. Ms. Sanchez?
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2018-19 salary schedules.
Any discussion?
Yes, there's going to be discussion on this one.
I know.
I can't tell you, looking at this in, Chad, if you probably remember, I think we've probably talked about this a few times on how can we get incremental pay to our teachers, based on years of service or whatever it is. It's going to help out with morale. It's going to help out with everything, showing that we actually appreciate them, and it's every single person in the district. So when I saw this, it brought a tear to my eye. It really did.
That's exciting.
It's such a good thing. I can't tell you how excited I am about this and how good it makes me feel to be part of this deal. Anyway, I'm just ecstatic right now.
I am too. I think we all are, the team, our team, their team. Ms. Dawson said it very eloquently. We worked together. The attitude was right. This year we were fortunate that the revenues were there. Hopefully the state can maintain those revenues. You and I had a side conversation about oil and gas, and we feel pretty good about that looking out for at least a year. And really, if you look at some of the economics, it could be there a good run for the next couple of years. One of the dominant things that's changed in the oil market is we become a producer and an exporter of oil products, where that's a sea change from years past for the United States. So we're in the global market share war now. So the beauty of it from the oil and gas side is we've really come up with some ways to be more efficient in our production, which drives down the cost. So if you look at the price differential for, say, what it costs Russia to produce and distribute to Europe, the cost differential, the way the United States is able to produce and pipeline it now, and more of those pipelines are starting to come online, and ship it, there's enough there that they can make money for the longer term. So I think knowing that New Mexico is dependent on those types of revenues in a big way. That bodes well for us in the years to come. So that, knowing that we also have a very solid fund balance as a district, and we've worked very hard over the last 10 years, honestly, to build that up. I can tell you back in 2005, that fund balance was 1.5 million. That's the lowest it's ever been. So compared to where we were then and compared to where we are now, we're in really good shape. I feel good about it. I don't think we did anything risky or dangerous in elevating these salary schedules. I will tell you that $1.8 million went into this cost increase as a district. I think it's long overdue. I think we looked at it strategically in terms of what these salaries could do in terms of attracting people, keeping people, and quite frankly, bringing in skilled folks for various things. And I'm not just talking about teachers. You know, as a group, the Roswell Independent School District, we have the largest group of licensed professionals in the state. So when we're talking about professionals, what is that? Well, we've got attorneys, lawyers, accountants. Those certifications make you a professional. Well, we've got the largest group of professionals in Chaves County working for us. So I just have to thank our board, our unions, and everybody, our team, for the support in getting this done. And I think it's huge, and I think it's great.
I just want to add to that too, you know, so we always get these for Mr. Bird on, you know, our vacancies, and I've got a feeling that once this gets out, I got a feeling this number is going to drop dramatically. So let's make sure that we're getting this out to people too. You know, I know that once this is approved, you know, within the organization, within the district, it's going to go. But let's make sure let's show the state that, hey, come to Roswell. Look what we're doing for you guys. So
absolutely, we're going
to
brag
attract
it up.
those people, and we get that down to zero. I think that's going to help out immensely.
Yes,
but I know there's a lot of moving parts to this, you know, and it was a lot of work put in amongst a lot of people. So just want to say thank you, and board, this is a great day.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And I think the team also, and like I said before, this is the first time that I can remember, and I've sat on negotiations, and it hasn't been this amicable that I know of. So I'm really thrilled. In addition to that, I'm thrilled that we looked at the ancillary staff, not just our
Very important.
teachers. We looked at ancillary because I know I have some friends, and one of them sitting in the audience. And when I found out that they were going to take, some of them are going to take, well, most of them, cut and pay to move from classroom teacher to DIAG, it just broke my heart. That is not right. That is not right. So I am thrilled that we looked at all salary schedules. And board, I think we need to take this a step further. Having been a principal and looking at the principal's salary schedules, there really isn't one. And I'm hoping that in the future, when we have another fund increase balance, or when we have a balance that makes us secure, that we can look at that, because that's near and dear to my heart too.
And Madam
Ms.
Board
Kirk?
President, I'm sorry. Please.
Go ahead.
Yes.
If I may just chime in real quick, I want to clarify that these are the 2018-19 salary schedules for both the REA collective bargaining group and the CWA collective bargaining group. So we don't have administrators and food services on there.
Right.
Of course, knowing that Dr. Ann-Lynn McElroy will be coming on board very short. Well, she's already here. But wanted to collaborate with her and get her vision for those administrative salary schedules. So those will probably be on the July
That's good.
board, but just to point out and clarify that these are specific to REA and CWA.
I'm glad to hear that, because our administrators also need to get rewarded. We've lost far too many. and this is a good
Longevity
place to be.
counts.
When you've got 25 years' experience, hopefully you know more than you did the first day you came. So we need to look at those.
Thank you. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve the 2018-19 salary schedules?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion, Mr. Getty second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was loud and
Loud and clear.
ambitious. Congratulations, teachers, staff, everybody out there in viewing land. This is phenomenal. The motion carries to approve the 2018-19 salary schedule. And again, thank you, Mr. Cole, for your team. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. And CWA, thank you. And there happens to be one young gentleman sitting in the audience that's with CWA that happens to have been one of my students when I was principal at Chisholm Elementary. Kudos, Jeremy. Okay, moving on. Donation from the Todd Memorial Trust to Pecos Elementary. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the donation from the Todd Memorial Trust to Pecos Elementary.
Any discussion?
This is the National Dance Institute
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
funding.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a fabulous program.
It is.
Any other comments? Having heard none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Dr. Pittman made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Sanchez, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion carries for the Todd Memorial Trust to Pecos Elementary. Number 13, donation from Holly Frontier Navajo Refining to East Grand Plains. Ms. Sanchez.
Excuse me. Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the donation from Holly Frontier Navajo Refining to East Grand Plains.
Any discussion? May I have a little bit of information about the
Ms.
grant?
Galloway, would
Yeah,
you
Ms.
please
Galloway,
come
yeah.
up?
Good evening. Coach Lynn has recognized that our students need more healthier and fit type activities in their daily routine, and that directly impacts the classroom. And so she has tried to generate some activities within our small community that raises awareness of healthy living, and we had a turkey trot in the fall and a color run in the spring.
Okay,
But she's recognizing our core strength is not what it used to be. Kids are not exercising like they used to be. And she's looking at implementing a traverse climbing wall to build that core strength. So she received quotes. She wanted to look at this as a 2 to 3 year project and to raise money for this traverse climbing wall. And Navajo has graciously donated a big chunk of that money, so we're hoping to do it in about 1.5 years.
Wow,
So-
$2,500. Right?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you. May I have a motion to approve the donation from Holly Frontier Navajo Refining to East Grand Plains?
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Edwards made the second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations. The motion carries to approve the donation from Holly Frontier Navajo Refining to East Grand Plains. Number 14, RFP, number 18-11, food. Food.
Yeah. The next four, Madam President, members of the board, are going to be our RFPs for our food. So with that, I recommend approval of this RFP, number 18-11, for food.
I like food.
Any discussion? Mr. Graham, you do an awesome job with the food you get. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate all your effort. Any discussion? Having heard none, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Getty made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Edwards, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations. The motion carries to approve RFP number 18-11. Moving on to number 15, RFP number 18-12, non-food. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of RFP number 18-12, non-food.
Any discussion?
I got a question. When you're talking about non-food, what does that include?
The non-food is all of the supplies that we have to have, the trays and the aprons and full and saran wrap and all of those kind of things that go on the bid. Not equipment, but all of the miscellaneous items that we have to have. Okay?
Thank you.
Well, I can pull it up on my phone to let me check the spelling. So.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Okay. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve the RFP number 18-12?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Pittman, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, RFP for number 18-12. Non-food is approved. Moving on to number 16, the RFP number 18-13, fresh produce. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of RFP number 18-13, fresh produce.
Any discussion?
Just one question on that one. So, looking at the bid recommendations, I know this is difficult and it's always a hard thing, but have we looked at getting stuff locally?
Locally.
You know, local farms, is there?
We buy all that they will let us have.
Okay.
The only farm that's local that signs up to work with us is Graves Farms.
Okay.
And the kids do field trips there, and there's nutritional training, plus we put on our salad bars, what comes from there, and so it works real well. And then we have Nichols Ranches, which is over at La Luz, and they send grapes, and which is real rare in this area, and apples, and pears, and sometimes cherries. So we're trying to do as much local as we can. We've started a process here and had a big meeting with the beef. We have a new beef packing plant.
Yep.
And so we're trying to work with them. They kind of missed out this time getting on my bid. They don't realize, and that's kind of the way farmers and ranchers are, they don't understand that it has to come in at a certain time, and you award it, they think you just buy when you want to. So we have a little bit of training issue, but the new beef plant is working with us. The legislators at the state really want to throw some money into schools to buy New Mexico beef. So I think that's the next process that will happen.
Yay.
If I could just brag on Mr. Graham for just a second, he's really spearheaded that down here in Roswell, setting those things up and working through those issues. There's different issues with shipping and cooling.
Right. I know that's
and all
where
those
there's
things.
challenges.
Yeah, and here's our expert, and he does a wonderful job and supports our community and local communities throughout the Southeast.
Especially when you have satellite schools and have to ship everything to the school, and then they really don't have the space to cut and chop, but they do. They find the room, and the salad bars are excellent. I mean, just a great resource for the kids.
Thank you.
Very nutritional. Thank you. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve RFP number 18-13, fresh produce?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Edwards, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, RFP number 18-13 is approved. RFP number 18-14, milk. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of RFP 18-14, milk.
Any discussion? Having heard none, may I have a motion to approve RFP number 18-14?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion, and Mr. Getty seconded very quietly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, RFP number 18-14, milk is approved. Number 18, the 2017-18 bus contractors evaluation. Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2017-18 bus contract evaluations.
Any discussion, board members?
Looks like we did well.
So Mr. Tweet, are you the one that does the evaluation? Is there a team or just singular?
I'm the one that does the evaluation as well.
Okay, perfect.
Seems like we've also improved in communication too.
Yeah,
to
it
handle,
does.
We have. Last year was kind of a tough year with the number of incidents that we have, but the bus contractors have done a really good job of really
Could
having...
you get to the microphone?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that last year, the 2016-2017 year was a pretty rough year in terms of number of complaints and incidents that we had, but the bus contractors have done a really good job of really lessening that. We receive a lot less calls than we did last year. There's been a change in some staff over at Pollard Bus Company. With the passing of the previous owner, it's come into stayed within the family, but the son-in-law is now taking over the organization, and that's helped a lot too. He's very hands-on, very personable, very good working with the community.
So it's now Estes Transportation Pollard Bus Company.
Estes Transportation is the father company to Pollard Bus Company.
Okay. Thank you. Because I know the Pollards have been around for many, 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 many years. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve the 2017 bus contract?
So moved.
During evaluation, sorry, I didn't get that. Mr. Getty made the motion, second.
Second.
And Mr. Sanchez, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Motion is approved to approve the 2017-18 bus contractors evaluation. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Board members, would you like to move any of the items on the consent agenda to the action items before I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda? Having heard none, may I have Ms. Sanchez?
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the May bills.
Any discussion? May I have a motion to approve the May bills?
So moved.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Getty, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. The motion to approve May bills is approved. Authorization of May bills. Ms. Sanchez.
June bills?
I'm sorry, June bills. We just
Mr.
did
Rosen,
May.
please.
Let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go to June.
Okay. Madam President, members of the board, I recommend authorization of the June bills.
Any discussion? May I have a motion to approve June bills?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Sanchez, second. May I have a second?
Second.
And Mr. Getty made the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. The motion is carried to authorize June's bills. Moving on to approve June's bars. May I have Ms. Sanchez?
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the June bars.
Any discussion? Having heard none, may I have a motion to approve June's bars?
So moved.
And that's not possessive. May I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Pittman, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. June's bars are approved. We'll move on to reports. Ms. Sanchez, Interim Superintendent Ms. Sanchez.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Aubrey Dunn did call this afternoon and has asked to reschedule. He had to not be able to make it today, so he would like to reschedule that. So if we could pull that from tonight.
Okay. We will note that it's rescheduled. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Sanchez had requested a bilingual report for this meeting, and I would like to let the board know I've decided to postpone that as the transition is occurring, to let Dr. Ann McElroy talk and do the presentation with Mrs. Andre Annette Walker in the July board meeting. It made more sense to do that at that time. I know that she had met with her today and things are coming together, so it makes sense that we do that in July.
Thank you for addressing that, Mrs.
Yeah,
Sanchez.
thank you. With my last agenda item, I would just like to just read a statement I put together. All right, here we go. Thank you, Madam President and members of the board, for allowing me to serve as your interim superintendent for the past 17 months. I want to start by saying thank you to my husband, who's out there in viewing land. Thank you for all your support and happy anniversary.
Oh, shoot, happy anniversary.
Thank you. And to all my family for their support and sharing my time with the Roswell Independent School District family. This allowed me time to attend all athletic events at the middle school and high school level, with the exception of cross country. That one you have to really run with them if you want to do that. I want to thank all the coaches and athletic coordinators for their support and enthusiasm that they share with our student athletes. I had the opportunity to watch and support 3 state championships in Albuquerque that we brought back. Music in our schools, celebrate the arts, reading, math nights, parent-teacher conferences, open house, student banquets were all a part of my support for our students, teachers, and administrators. Thank you all. Next, I would like to thank all the teachers, nurses, ancillary staff, librarians, and all staff for their support through all the emails, text messages, flowers, letters, and phone calls that I received over the past 2 months. Thank you for all you do for our students. Your time, dedication, caring, and compassion for all our students has gone recognized. Thank you, parents, for entrusting me with your child's educational success. I met many of you at school events, Thanksgiving luncheons, and at all our community events. Thank you to my principals, assistant principals, and TOSAs. You are all an amazing group of administrators. It was a pleasure to collaborate with you all. Thank you for all of your support. To all of my new administrators, I wish you a long and successful career with the Roswell Independent School District. It's the best organization to work for. Maintenance Department, thank you, Mr. Benedict and staff, for all your hard work in ensuring our facilities and that you have maintained for all of our staff, our students, and for our community use. Your yearly breakfast that I attended with all of the staff was amazing. The positive relationships and support was truly felt. Thank you, Lyman, and all of your staff for supporting our schools with the nutritional breakfast and lunch opportunities for all our students and staff to participate in. Thank you for going that extra mile to secure that funding to provide those fresh vegetables and fruits to our students that complement that great salad bar that we just talked about. Thank you for your leadership. Mr. Braggs and your IT staff, thank you for making it possible to live stream our board meetings and for making our virtual back to school meeting a success. Your staff ensured our school technology was up and running at all times. Thank you for your leadership. Mr. Rogers, Mr. Tweet, thank you for your contributions to our safety plans, our transportation, and our construction projects. You are back there. I have learned so much from both of you. I am so proud that I have been a part of the completion of the Parkview Early Literacy Center and the beginning of our new Del Norte project, that we went up to Santa Fe to secure the funding through PSCOC. So thank you. Our safety plans and securing funding are in progress with the collaboration of law enforcement and many other individuals working diligently to be awarded these funds from the Public Education Department. Our 2 new high schools, our vestibules are in the beginning and layering that security measure in our schools, and looking forward to the completion of Roswell High before school starts. Finally, thank you, Linda, Mireya, Jennifer, Andrea, Shelley, and Pat. Thank you for all you do. To my administrative cabinet, our team has worked really hard, collaborated, and made decisions that were in the best interest of our kids. And this goes to the leadership that 70% of our operational budget goes back into the classroom. That is substantial for each and every one of you that you should be proud of. Transparency, honesty, and integrity has always been our #1 priority to our constituents. Chad, Ryan, Harry is traveling, Sonia and Kenneth, thank you for your leadership. Finally, as I leave this position, I want to thank all my community for your unwavering support and encouragement. I have met many incredible people with the same passion that I have for growing and fostering our community. And with that, I say thank you. turn it over to Business and Finance.
Mr. Cole.
Madam Board President, Superintendent Sanchez, members of the board, I don't have a whole lot to report to you regarding bids and RFPs. We should see in July timeframe some annual tunnel inspection RFPs and oil and diesel and gasoline RFPs would be anticipated for July timeframe. Beyond that, we don't have anything. Del Norte Construction Design, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mac Rogers, our construction manager. He also has our architects. They've come down from Albuquerque to talk about our Del Norte project. I think we've seen some schematics, we've seen some photos and all those things. And we've certainly discussed the traffic patterns and the parking at length. But I wanted to give you one more opportunity, I want you to understand that these things aren't developed in a vacuum. So the architect doesn't just run off and develop their own plan. Mac doesn't run off and make his own plan. I don't make my own plan. The way this kind of works is it starts with a building level committee. And that starts with the school's administrator or principal, and it starts with its staff. And each school is different. Each school serves a different, or can serve a different population of students. And so when we design these schools, Parkview is a great example. That's the first early literacy campus designed and built for pre-K students in the state of New Mexico. It's something you ought to be proud of. It's a beautiful facility. But likewise, Del Norte is an elementary school. It's located just down the street from high school in a northern neighborhood with a lot of traffic that goes up and down Garden Street. So all of those things come into play, and they do have populations, special education populations, and so on and so forth. So it's very important, my point, I guess, is that it's very important that our staff and our experts be a part of that process. So they have been, and they've really owned it. They've taken the initiative to own it, and I think they're very prideful of it, and I think it's been a very good process in working with the architect, and of course I think the world of Mac Rogers and the work that he does as well. So with that, Mac, I'll hand it off to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so tonight's construction update is going to focus on our site design. We last reviewed our site design with our building committee, as Mr. Cole mentioned, on May 23rd. I feel very strongly that our site design meets the needs of Del Norte Elementary and is in line with our goal of building 21st century learning environments across the district. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to our architects.
Hi, I'm Arthur McGoy with SMPC Architects. We're the prime architect on this, but I'm going to hand it off to Raymond, who's in charge of the site design. Thank
you. Madam President and members of the board, we've prepared a brief presentation for you, and we mean for this to be as informative as possible and sort of where we are at this moment, and we welcome any discussion. And I'll just get started. I will keep it brief, but the more detail we want to get into, we do welcome that. So. Okay, most of you know the site. It's bordered on Garden on the west there, and it's just north of Goddard High School. But the existing Del Norte school is it will be demolished. Our project is a replacement project, and a new school will be built. There are significant site assets that will be retained as a sort of budgetary strategic measure, and those include the north parking lot, parts of the west parking lot, and significantly the gymnasium. The gymnasium will be remodeled, but the gymnasium is not nearly as old as the rest of the facility, so we're proposing to keep that. Now in our evaluation of the project, it was important for us to identify existing site challenges, is what we called them. And the school has a number of these, and these are I'm going to go through a couple of these, but I don't necessarily want to go through all of them. But there are some ones here that, and I'll use my pointer. So Currently, those of you who are familiar with the school know that the west parking pickup lane and the west parking actually overlap, and so those two streams of traffic are not the best way that those could flow. Furthermore, traffic that crosses Garden, pedestrian traffic, has to cross all of that parking and pickup traffic, creating really what we look at in the industry as not belonging to the best practices in school circulation and traffic design. Existing head-in parking, for those of you who have traveled north along Garden, you know that during school pickup you have parents backing out into oncoming traffic, which is it's a daily challenge, safety challenge. Also, traffic entering, and I hate to go on about these challenges, but they're important to understand. Traffic entering the pickup zone has to make a left turn. It makes a right and then a left turn across traffic in Paloma. And so whenever you're crossing traffic and making a left turn, you're causing unnecessary congestion. Right turn only is the desirable way to do that. There is a lack of existing parking in general, and I'll talk more about how our design tries to add to that. But the lack of existing parking on this north and west lot, from our understanding, leads to drop-off and pickup that's actually happening in the neighborhood as a default and across Garden because people are frustrated that the system doesn't work efficiently. So that's enough negatives about the existing. But so our new design, and we'll talk about the building a little bit too, Arthur will in a second, but we wanted to talk about kind of the most salient points about what we're proposing here. The big challenge is, can we keep a school in operation while a new one is being built, and can we keep the existing park intact? That's, for us, that's in a nutshell what we've tried to do. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at a new school building, a portion of which is 2-story. It connects to the existing renovated gym, and it has playground areas to the north which have a grass play area, sort of structured primary playground, and that kind of blends in spatially with the existing park. The existing park is encroached on somewhat. It's a little over 20 feet, but in fact this park is intact and it can be used like it is being used right now. So the recent improvements and plantings that are in that park will be maintained.
Can I just chime in there just for a moment of clarity? One of the questions I keep hearing out in the community is, are you swapping land with the city? And the city was so gracious to work with us. Of course, that was a couple of years ago when we first got this project. We're trying to get this off the ground. And they said, absolutely, we'll swap land with you. We've done that before with Missouri Avenue. But I just want to make sure for our viewing audience that everybody understands that we are not swapping land. We are encroaching approximately 20 to 30 feet over, and the city has been great to work with on that.
So, and one of our big concerns up front was not just preserving the existing park, but really working responsibly with the budget that we have in hand. So it was entertained early on whether it would be possible to build a school in the existing park and then rebuild the park over here on the west. And that was just simply financially infeasible because of the cost of building a new park. But yes, so the old property line is approximately here, and we're encroaching on that a little bit. So how does this school work? It works in 3 different ways. So we have 3 different strategies. We're trying to decentralize vehicular access to the site, to the school, so decentralization. We're trying to eliminate unnecessary crossings of traffic flows, right? So we have a lot of right turn only scenarios here. And then finally, we're just plain old increasing capacity for vehicles. So let me go through those just a little bit. So instead of decentralization, so this site plan works by providing teacher-only parking here. and you come up Garden, you take a right, and the teacher exits taking only right-hand turns here. Now that traffic flow will typically happen after the children are gone at the end of the day. So that's a strategy to sort of divide different traffic streams so that they can be isolated and not have to deal with each other at the same time. This north lot would be general parking, so it would be parents and teachers. The south lot has parking opportunities. This is where our primary handicap parking is, and this is where the pickup area is. So the pickup area now, the big move is to take the pickup area off of being parallel to Garden and putting it here off of East La Paloma. Now parents are going to be coming up Garden, circling down, and entering here and forming a line. The capacity of that is important. So parking space capacity overall has increased from 87 to 111 spaces. And the capacity of the pickup lane has increased from 16 to 30 cars, so almost doubled. And we understand that there's a lot of frustration with how this is working currently. What we have also, so let's talk about traffic flows. What we've done with this lot here is we've actually reoriented the striping so that you enter from the north and you go out. So that's a right-hand turn only. Traffic coming into this area would need to come in off of East La Paloma, make turns, and then exit this way. So we do not any longer have the kind of shortcut traffic here, which really endangered pedestrians crossing this little driveway. Some of the things that are really important have remained in their location. So this is both the garbage pickup and it's also the drop-off point for food during the day. So that kind of heavy vehicle activity is remaining off of Garden and it's not put into the neighborhood. Also, the primary entrance of the building, which is here, actually goes all the way through. So you can walk all the way through the building and that really connects the playground and the main drop-off area here. And that primary entrance is, if you're familiar, I'll go back a couple of slides, but this is an empty lot here that is owned by the school, and so that entrance is across from this empty lot.
So I have a question. How will you keep that area secure by fencing? Will the fence, will it be open? I'm not sure.
So the fence is difficult to see, and I apologize for that. But if I trace the boundary of the fence, it sort of moving, there's no fencing in the front that contains any secure area. We do have fencing in the front that divides lanes of traffic so people don't try to take shortcuts. But the fence that encloses the play area basically goes from the kindergarten area here north around this parking lot, and it stops here. So this area, this is all not fenced. This is all not security fenced. So that's the playground areas that are gated and fenced.
So if they drop off on the north parking lot, how will the kids get in? Will the doors, will the gates, well, they will, I can promise you. Will the gates be locked or will they be open?
That's a good point. So parents wanting to walk their kids in are welcome to park up here, and there are a couple of gates, and they would take this sidewalk down and filter into the main entrance, or they would take this sidewalk down and filter into that main entrance. And from there, depending on the weather, they may wait for school to start outside, or they may be going to the gym. It just kind of depends on the weather.
So so the main entrance is right here? Is that what you're...
The main entrance, and we'll show you a three-dimensional view of this, but it's right there. That's where the doors are. And then the lobby extends across the whole building, and then there is another set of doors that you can enter out or exit out onto the playground in. So that lobby has the capacity to be, I think one of the really nice things that I like about this design is that it really divides the educational eastern portions of the building from the community areas. community areas are where there might be a meeting, a parent meeting, or an athletic event, or something like that. But there's really no reason that these community events need to be walking through, attendees of those events need to be walking through the academic portions. And significant to our conversation, the meeting point of the community and academic sides is that lobby, the lobby that goes all the way through the building. So that lobby is technically one that can lock off access to the educational portions of the building. It has that ability.
So the vestibule then, or wherever the parents are going to enter in, will be this way.
Correct. And we'll show a plan later in the presentation.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
It is a secure vestibule, and you'll see that in the plan with a sort of buzz-in function. So just so that you know where it is currently proposed, we have a school bus drop-off zone proposed here, and we have one proposed off of Garden that would utilize some of the existing paving. Now you can notice that all of the parking that faced head-in off of Garden has been removed, so that problem should go away. That safety hazard should go away.
So board members, that directs all traffic all the way around that park area, the school, onto East La Paloma, turn right, and the drop-off pickup everybody will be funneled around the school to the pickup and drop-off area.
Just some other smaller points that we should mention. There are some, we're trying to maintain as much of the existing trees as possible. We will be planting new ones, but there's a large mature tree just south of the existing parking lot that we will be maintaining. We will also be installing a new fire lane that will give the fire marshal access to the north side of the building. And then we will be, we are proposing a very diverse north primary playground area that has, you know, the requisite sort of play equipment, but it will also have outdoor learning areas, and that's what the green areas that you see here. So those are, this is actually shade that is produced by the building. So those outdoor learning areas, we're hoping that they're in the shade. Yay. Some. So why don't we continue on through and tell you about the building, and then we can come back and answer any other questions.
So our goal here was really to make a school that the community would be proud of, as well as a great learning environment for your students. One that is safe and meets the ideas of the 21st century learning environment. Let me just go ahead. So here's the building. As Raymond was talking about, here's that primary entrance, and we have a secure lobby. So visitors to the school would go into the lobby and be able to speak to the receptionist and talk about their business, and if appropriate, allowed into the building, otherwise kept safe and away from the children. We want to make sure that visitors do not disturb the children while they're learning. However, we also want to make this a friendly environment for the community. And so we've designed the school really in two parts. There's the primary instruction area over here on the right, and the community area on the left. So things like the library, cafeteria, the gym are all on the left, and in the evenings, these doors would be able to be closed, and this would all be able to be opened up, and events could happen. This school is very proud of their community involvement and their involvement of the teachers, and we wanted to make sure that it was still a welcoming environment for them when it was appropriate. And that was really up to how the school wanted to do it. On the first floor, we have first grade, kindergarten, as well as administration, and a separate wing for our exceptional education students. On the second floor, up above, you can see we have all the grades 2nd through 5th grade. In addition, there's some joint use classrooms, special areas where the students can get out of their current classroom, go and learn in a different way. For example, there's a project room where they can make a bit more of a mess. There's art rooms. There's kind of a lecture style hall where they can go up and read their report and feel like they're really doing something. Yeah, so by changing the environment, they can also change the way they learn and be more receptive to other ways of learning. and that was a key aspect of this building. We've also wanted to make the public area very inviting. And so there's a lot of glass, and in fact in this corridor you can see into the cafeteria and into the media center. So you can see the activities going on, but there's still the acoustic privacy. So if there's a loud activity in the dining hall, the media center isn't disturbed, though they can see each other and get that kind of community energy. And that's the kind of primary pieces of this building. Now, the building's going to look something like this. This is a rendering of the main entranceway. We have the 2-story volume over here, big windows into the media center over here. Here's our secure entrance. In regards to security, because I know this is a really big deal, we believe in the safety of your students, and we're thinking through how an attacker may come and how we may stop them. Now, a determined attacker is going to get in, but if we delay them, if we slow them down, there'll be time for the police to respond. So we've designed this building in a way to have plenty of visibility so an attacker approaching can be spotted quickly. In addition, all those doors that we talked about that is great for locking off the instructional wing, all those things delay the attacker and make the school more safe. So that's a big aspect of this building as well as the ability to get out. Things like fire are equally important. We feel like this building has a certain formality to it, the ability to kind of say, we are a school, we are serious about it, but this is also an elementary school, and they're serious about having fun, about learning, and play, and learning should be fun. So with that slight formality, we have things like the glazed brick on the entrance to add some playfulness. And we wanted to design this building to be an experience that unfolds for the children, so there's lots of places for them to discover new experiences. It's not just one place, it's multiple places. And we hope that the community and the students will be proud of it in the end. Here's a few more views, looking back at the drop-off. And that one more view kind of from above. Now we'll open it up to any questions. Thank you.
So we just got back from an MSBA conference, and as you guys know, #1 topic was schools and security of schools. So if you can go back to the layout slide.
Yeah.
So one thing that, I think you covered a couple, and what they really pressed upon was when you come into the school in a secured area is making sure that there's other lines of sight. So like you have an offset office or something like that, so it's not just they're looking down one way. You've got to, you have different people looking at people coming in from different angles, and you get a different view.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we understood there too is that anybody want to do bad probably wouldn't want to go there because they know there's different lines of sight and there's a bunch of eyes on them versus, places.
You want the attacker to feel vulnerable.
You don't want them to feel vulnerable. And then you also covered another base here too was lines of sight within the school. Mm-hmm. So if you can place one teacher in one area and they can look down a corridor and they can kind of see what's going on. So if something looks fishy, somebody's in there, what are you doing type deal. Another thing they pressed upon was zones. And kind of you pressed on that too, but what they did press upon was if they get in the school somehow, how do you still block them off so they're blocked off in smaller zones within, so then you can shut doors and then they're captured within a 2 or 3 classroom area versus able to get down the whole corridor or upstairs to the 2nd story. So they're talking about if they get past the community area, they get into the school, halfway into the school.
And we are doing that. So for example, this whole corridor is exposed, but it's just that corridor. There's a separate entrance here to the EE suite, and the 2nd story is entirely on its own as well. So we have kind of 4 primary zones: the public zone, the 1st floor classroom wing, the 1st floor EE wing, and the 2nd floor classroom wing.
So will those zones be able to be locked down in one central location?
We haven't gotten to that far in the design to talk about what's called access control, but that is definitely something that we're going to talk to the district about and how we're going to implement it. It's possible in this design. We just haven't implemented that far.
And there are lots of variations of that. And I'll go back to Parkview again because there's one variation there. Now, we know that that's for the little guys and the little gals. our preschoolers. So that's kind of a unique school. It's got mag locks throughout. So once you get in, unless you've got the little electronic key, you can't get back out. And so when we first finished construction, it was 2 days before the start of school this year. They were dropping the sod in out on the playground, and so we made it just by the wire. But I got stuck in there, and I could not get out of the building. I had to go find somebody with a key to get me out of that building. That doesn't always work for our older students, and of course we've got to take fire concerns, all those things into account as well. But certainly those zones, breaking that up, you could look at a maglock type of solution for that.
What I was maybe suggesting was, you know, when I looked at this, and my background in law enforcement, I'm just kind of wired this way.
It's great.
So, you know, when you look at this corridor here, you know, we're kind of talking about, you know, they have access into here. I would maybe see if we can maybe add any even zones in here. So if they're in here, they're only able to come into different areas versus having the whole
Sure.
corridor, you know, because that's a lot of classrooms, that's a lot of
Absolutely, and we actually have some key points that I can, just taking your comments seriously, is we can very easily add a door here and a door there.
That's what they're just saying. If you can block it up,
Sure.
to where, you know, of course you got to meet all the other requirements, fire safety, everything else, and getting kids out ultimately.
Yeah.
But you know, from what they've learned is if you have those zones secure, but you know, I guess you could say, you know, deaths are a little bit less because they're not able to get around, and then once they're blocked in, they kind of panic.
Yeah.
You know, and of course that's going to lead also with educating our teachers and what to do in those situations, and I'm sure we're going to get there also. But maybe just one suggestion there to maybe look to maybe break up some more zones within that, because you've got those long corridors, you know, maybe within a hallway like you said.
It'd be a very easy thing to implement, and we'll look into that.
Okay.
And then looking at the restrooms, who could go to which restrooms, because I'm assuming there's some down here.
There's actually not any additional set of restrooms here. On the second story, there's 2 sets, but because we have a little less classrooms down here, the 4th restroom is actually over here for the gym.
That might be an issue.
During a lockdown, it would, but those doors. So, one scenario I would see is there's what's called double egress doors, and they open in both directions. We could have them open most of the time, and in a lockdown situation, a switch flip, they would close, and they would provide that security. But otherwise, they would be very, they wouldn't be visible or really intruding, and that'd be a very easy thing to add.
I have a question about, I'm worried. The secure entrance is great. That other entrance bothers me a whole lot. You know, I know that it's okay, according to security people, when kids come in the morning, because you were saying from the north parking lot, coming in that north entrance.
Correct.
And that worries me. What are you thinking about? What's your thought process and security in that other entrance?
During the school day, you want to think of your secure entrance. The most secure point is the fence at the outer perimeter.
Right.
So the site on the north side has already started to be secured, and those gates would remain locked during the school day and only opened when people are dropping off and picking up. So during that phase, that's where our first security is, and someone would have to breach that fence in a pretty obvious manner, cutting, climbing, and there's a lot of visibility onto that parking lot or onto that whole playground from the classrooms above and the classrooms below. So that's our first step. And so that serves very much like that first door here. And then this is really the second door. So yes, somebody could breach the site, run across here, but in that way, they would mark themselves as an attacker and give time for people to send an alert.
So the north entrance, that's where kids go out on the playgrounds?
Correct. And that, my understanding is that Roswell's school district's policy is that all exterior doors remain locked during the day. So that door is locked as well. For kids to come in, they need a teacher. For anybody else to come in. So you're having somebody jump a fence, run across the playground, and then try a locked door and break in through that. So it's a very secure method. Again, we're trying to delay. We're trying to keep it, and if somebody is intent on harm, make it obvious and make them have to do something that marks them as an attacker.
So that leads me to my question then. In the morning when they drop off on the north, parents come in, children are accessible.
During drop-off and pick-off, and this is true of all your existing schools as well, We worked on Military Heights redesign as well. So during that time, that is a very vulnerable time for all your schools. And all your schools open up your secure lobbies to let everybody through during those portions of time. So that's a way that you operate your schools. If you choose to operate them differently, if you choose to not let anybody in and to meter people, have the parents right here, you could close those gates and force everybody through this main entrance. But that is really an operational choice of the school and the district.
Or have somebody stand at the gates.
Correct.
So I have a question about, and I know we're on this part now. Why do we have teacher parking on the side, which is much closer to the main entrance, instead of teacher parking on the north part, where then each teacher would have to unlock the gate and come in? And this happens at Washington Avenue, where they have gates on the back, and the teachers come through the back. They unlock that gate, they close that gate, they lock it.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, for me personally as a parent, I wouldn't, that would bother me to say we're going to let people come on north and south and they can just converge. To me, if we put this side for people
Yeah.
and dropping off kids, they can walk to the front.
Yep. Yeah.
As opposed to this can be teacher parking.
So there's one really big reason why we don't want this to be public parking, and that has to do with the traffic patterns. There's a lot of unsafe traffic coming out of this, particularly right here where there's a lot of people crossing from the neighborhood. A lot of people walk across here. So we want to make this teacher-only parking, and there's actually a gate up here that's closed during drop-off and pickup. So only the teachers can go there. In our early designs, we actually got rid of this entire piece and put teacher parking in one large parking lot all up at the top. As a cost-saving issue, we've backed off of that. There's significant savings. We're trying to put as much money into the building for the kids directly as we can. And so it is a little bit of a compromise there, but we think it's a healthy compromise. The difference between design and the operation is a fine line, and we're always talking about that. So there's a lot of choices that the administrators of the school and the district could use to operate the school. It would be very easy to post a teacher at the gate and let the kids in metered there and no parents beyond, for example. That would be one aspect to do it. Or to lock that gate, and if the district chose to, we could provide a more direct path, probably around here, back to the entrance. So there's other things that we can do, but it is really, at this point, we're talking about operational issues, and we're trying to design for flexibility to give you the choices that's right for your district.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I think that I would rather say to a parent, if you want to park, and this sounds mean, but I'm a parent and I would do this.
Yeah.
You're going to park over there, that's fine. You're going to walk around and you're going to bring your kid up to the front.
And truthfully, if I have 2 young children in elementary school myself, I'm one of the people that like just to park a little farther and just walk them in.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine. I'd be totally fine walking around because I want to walk with them. And holding their hands and talking about their day is one of the best times of my day. So it's really a personal choice. And we want to allow multiple choices. And the goal of the site design is to make it easier for people to follow the rules and to be safe than it is for it to be harder, which currently it's actually easier to be unsafe than it is. It's harder to follow the rules than it. And so that's the whole point of this design.
May I ask, Ms. Kirk, you have so much experience in dealing with pickups and parents. What does this site design look like to you from the principal standpoint? Will it work?
I've already had a conversation with the architects and with the schools, and, there comes a time when you have to say, I surrender. I'm going to speak from my heart personally, because I am a neighborhood owner. My house is off East La Paloma, Mimosa, and I can tell you, Atkinson to Mimosa to La Paloma is going to be a nightmare between 7 and 8:30 and between 1 and 2:30 on Wednesdays and between going to be a nightmare. I've already spoken to some of my neighbors on Mimosa, and they are adamantly disapproving of this and funneling all traffic around. Do I think it's the best as a principal? No, I am very much opposed to having pick up and drop off on the front of the school for the simple fact our front doors will, we know this from past history, will be unlocked. And so teachers can come and go. We've already had an incident this year. I really appreciate having your pick up and drop off on the opposite side. But since you asked my opinion, that's my
I
opinion.
wanted your opinion.
Yeah, but it didn't, I understand the staff, and they've not experienced anything different. They don't know.
So
This is the only way they've ever had it, and so that's what they chose, and we just have to live with it.
yeah, and we respect Madam President's opinion, and we spoke at great length about this with her. This design, it was, as was mentioned by Mr. Cole, not designed in a vacuum. We looked at 7 or 8 different site plans with many different drop-off options and spoke with the school and their administrators and teachers about how they experience drop-off, and this was the plan that they chose.
This what it is. And we
I
will
don't
make
know.
it
I
work.
mean, I'm putting myself into perspective of schools that I know, and you know, I live a stone throws away from East Grand Plains Elementary, and it's basically the same way that Mrs. Kirk was kind of talking about. It's separated, it works well. I could just imagine having that up front. It would just be a bottleneck. Is there any other designs that you talked about that maybe we can fit and not have the safety issue of garden? Maybe flipping something or?
So the way that, yes, there is. It's all a matter of money and how much of the site we want to dedicate to the parent drop-off versus the park and the playground. And that's ultimately what it came to. There's definitely ways that we could, for example, bring a pole in across here and put a big loop right there. But then we don't get a playground.
No,
and so
we don't want to do that.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off with any of these decisions. There's definitely ways we can do it, but it's at the expense of other primary things. Yeah,
Let me just.
What I suggested too is leaving it where it is, knocking this out, and using a lane so when the cars pull in, they have a pull-in lane to the traffic. But there's just so many variables, and you have to have buy-in from the staff. And I can tell you, the staff is really pleased with the architect's design.
Well, then they'll make it work.
They will.
Yeah, that's right.
They will. Yeah,
And
the neighborhood's just gonna have to
we
live with
appreciate
it.
your comments because
it can never be
Yeah.
perfect. I get that.
it can't
And
be perfect,
especially
and
when
this
you're
is
landlocked.
it's landlocked. It's a tough site,
It is.
and it's got some demands that are fighting each other. So, you know, we know that everybody is frustrated
Yeah.
with congestion on Garden. That's issue number 1: congestion and safety on Garden.
I've had complaints from people on Orchard and from people on Mimosa. That's where most of my complaints have been that I've received. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to comment what we all know. The being located so close to Goddard just magnifies the problem.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we started, it was probably 20% design. We had a community meeting where we presented in the gymnasium, and I think everybody that attended that meeting breathed a sigh of relief when we presented the fact that the park was going to be intact. So that's point number 2. Can you keep the park, right? And then point number 3, and these are all equally important. Point number 3 is, can you maintain the integrity of the neighborhood so that it's not completely compromised by the school building? And these 3 things they fight each other. They really do, and it's a challenge to balance these.
That's a gorgeous
So
building.
it will be a really nice building. One of the frustrations that the current staff has outside of the school building is supervising kids, because the various playground areas are in different portions of the building, so they have to assign separate staff to do that supervision. And here, you're going to be able to see all of this in one go, which is a security benefit as well. It's a security advantage as well.
How tall is the fence going to be?
The fence, it will be different heights in different places. So in places where we're not trying to stop people from actually climbing over, we're just visually discouraging them from crossing, it will be a 4-foot fence.
The perimeter?
The fence at the perimeter will be either 5 or 6 feet. We haven't gone over it yet. We haven't talked about it yet.
Is there any separation between this here and this here? Is this a wall?
Yes. So that's a good question.
Have you seen any issues with that area as far as, you know, security and observation?
So this is the outdoor kindergarten play area, and there are kindergarten classrooms that open up directly to that. And our idea design-wise was to give them an isolated, quiet, uninterrupted.
So it's not part of the playground. People can't go to the other side, hide.
Correct.
And stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And it's still, you know, we had the consideration of not trying to create pockets of outdoor space that would be difficult for the police to observe in the evening. Okay. So, for instance, a patrol car coming down this way is going to be able to see into here relatively easily. So there aren't deep courtyards or that kind of thing where somebody can hide out. And this is fenced here.
That's also in keeping with our design standards. You've seen on our remodels and our newer schools where we keep our kindergarten area separate. Right. In a renovation, it would typically be an addition. And then you see a separate playground. It keeps them separate from the bigger kids. It's a safety thing for them as well. And again, the secure vestibule, Roswell kind of kicked that off and started that many years ago when we started all this construction, and everybody's really following suit. And kudos to our designers for rising to the challenges on this one. Yes, ma'am.
So I have one more question, because Del Norte houses a lot of our special ed programs. So do we have a playground that's wheelchair accessible? And
so we're designing all of the playgrounds to be accessible, regardless of whether they're dedicated to anybody or not. So we're really promoting the sort of intermingling of different student populations. We want to promote that. So there will not be sort of a dedicated handicapped accessible area.
It all will be.
It will all be. Now there are also different facets of this that will allow students with special needs to be able to find areas that suit their needs and maybe still allow them to mix with the general population, because we feel that that kind of mixing can actually be beneficial for everybody. So this is kind of your allowed playground area with that we all know. This is ball court area. This is an existing paved space that we're actually saving. These are outdoor classrooms, basically. And then there is a kind of quiet play area that we've kind of strategically located right north of the exceptional education wing, so that can serve as an easy kind of spill out area for that population. That's also located close to the bus stop, so that the exceptional education population, they get bused in a lot. So we wanted to locate that bus stop in close proximity to them, so that, you know, to facilitate getting into the school. They don't wait outside with the rest of the students. Typically, they come right inside.
How about courts? Where are the courts?
The courts are in here, this general area. So we have basketball, we have tetherball, foursquare, those kinds of things.
Del Norte's a big foursquare.
Oh yeah, can't do it without it.
Beautiful school. Tetherball.
That's what I heard.
Well, thank you for answering all the questions. I
thank
know we got a bunch, but you know,
All
this
right.
is kind of
Appreciate that.
it's a big deal when you start off, and it's always good to get all these heads together and let's do it before, you know, we've got money invested and it's already built. And said,
Absolutely.
whoops, we should have done something different. But so I appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thank you for your time and your interest. We appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now Human Resources Personnel Report.
Mr. Byrd.
Madam President Kurt, Superintendent Sanchez, members of the board, you have the monthly personnel report in front of you. You also have the vacancy list as well. Dr. Pittman kind of burst my bubble before the meeting asking about we also have pre-K 11 additional teaching positions that they are on the website, but they were listed under federal programs. So when I went through those today, those were left off of the report. And I sent an email to each and every one of you. That way you'll know what sites they are. But just so you know, in case you haven't looked at your email, 5 of those positions will be at Parkview. 2 of them will be assigned to Missouri Avenue, 1 to Sunset Elementary, 1 to Valley View, 1 to Washington Avenue, and then 1 to University High School. So those will be the different sites that will be receiving those 11 new pre-K positions.
So one question, when we're trying to recruit for you, which we're going to, we're going to tell you we got a bunch of pre-K positions at a pretty cool school. This is going to ask Chad the question too, so I'm going to be talking about, hey, our cool salary schedule that we have now. So if somebody asks coming out of town, is that salary schedule, is it going to be based on the years of service in education? So if they come in and they've been teaching, let's say in Albuquerque for 10 years, when they come in on that schedule, can we tell them they'll be a step 10 day 1, or how does that work? Because I want to make sure I'm giving them the right information.
You want me to answer it?
Go for it.
So, yes.
Okay.
And so basically, right now, we have a procedure that any person with experience that comes from outside of the district can bring up to 18 years.
Got it.
Again, that can be changed through, the approval of the board with the procedure if we want to add years to that and make it where they can bring 25. But that's what we will do. So, and then what we have to do, we have to verify their employment. So when they first come in, we'll give them, the initial step 0. This is where you'll be. But once we generally go ahead and move them, but then we do verify that their work experience is,
right, and that takes some time.
Right, and it usually takes 2-3 weeks, depending on how quickly, whatever district they're coming from. But yes, we'll put them on whatever step that they fall on experience-wise with any out-of-district experience.
Copy that. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion? Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Are we ready for the next part?
And I'll
Okay,
look
so also would like to do the acknowledgement for middle school soccer city champions this year. Boys soccer champion was from Sierra Middle School, as well as the girls. So Sierra kind of ran the table over there.
Yeah.
And then middle school track champions for this year, 7th grade girls was Sierra Middle School. And I need to make a change, and I apologize for the oversight. 7th grade boys was actually Berendo Middle School this school year. 8th grade girls was also Berendo Middle School, and then 8th grade boys was Berendo Middle School.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Moving on to instruction.
Madam President, members of the board, we need to pull the UHS Grads Handbook.
Okay.
We are going to postpone that until July, and hopefully we'll have our principal on board, and then they'll be able to review that and bring it to the board.
Thank you. Now we move on to board communication, new and unfinished business. We'll start and work our way down. We'll start with Mr. Edwards.
What, I can talk?
Yes, it's
Okay.
all you.
All right. Well, I want to thank Ms. Sanchez for stepping up to the plate. And I'd like to welcome the new superintendent coming in. Ms. Cole, could you do me a favor and bring this deal up? I want to say thank you. You said thank you, and you wrote a very nice thank you to everybody in the district. But I wanted to say thank you, So I picked up a few things. Miss Cole provided the vase. You're gonna get it in a trash bag if I get it. But that's not that's just how I am. It was in a brown bag. So I want to just say thank you. You bring a lot of you're a big asset to the school district. And the one thing that I will say is I'm learning. I'm new, and hopefully I'll learn from the new superintendent as well. You brought a lot of integrity in class to this district. It was turbulent times when you came in, and I just want to say thank you. So that's my thank you to the district and to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Dr. Pittman.
I wanted to talk about some of the fabulous, absolutely amazing music that I heard this spring. The Arts in the Schools programs are now so large they have to be divided in 2 spring concerts. I attended the one with all the choruses and the orchestra, and then I attended all the bands, including a jazz band. And I was so impressed with the care of the directors, the conductors. That was great. And we have a lady that you may or may not know about. Her name is Karen Fuss. She coordinates all of the music activities in the middle schools and high schools. And she also teaches music out at Sierra. So she is she believes in our kids, and of course they do stuff all year, but the spring concerts are not to be missed. So thank you all the music teachers in this district. Now, we had the Arts Connect group, the what we call the Creative Learning Center, the elementary people did some great things this year in the mall, and then I attended the opening of the display, the art show at Eastern New Mexico Medical Center. And the medical center has been providing wall space for them and gave a beautiful reception. What amazed me, because I'm an arts person, was the absolutely amazing products that our little people have produced. They've learned to draw, they learn about color, they learn all kinds of cool things. So if you're, I don't know if the display's still up, do you know?
Yes,
Go and look at it. It's in the lobby and just down that main hall, and you'll be shocked with what elementary kids can do with visual art.
Dr. Pittman, on that also, members of the board, Loveless also has their gallery walk. They had it earlier this year, but they also have it there. So we either went to the hospitals.
And the airport.
And the airport,
So,
yes.
And for those of you out there, stop by and come see that additional artwork.
Yes, thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention was a shout out to all the teachers, parents, and kids from early college high school. They won a bronze medal from U.S. News and World Report for excellence, and they were in the top 20 high schools in our state as a winner. And as you probably know, their principal, Dr. Porter Cottrell, has moved on to be the superintendent in Cloudcroft, so he was unable to be here tonight. But I do want to, there are a lot of other people besides him who are involved in making a great school, so I congratulate them. Now, are you going to talk about the law conference?
Well, I'm going to make the rounds, so
Okay.
if you
So,
want to.
That's
you want
all
to
right.
report?
Y'all can have it. I loved it. It was great. I learned a lot.
Mr. Getty.
You next, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, first of all, I want to echo Mr. Edwards. Thank you very much, Ms. Sanchez. Yeah, it was a pleasure to get to know you and a pleasure to get to work with you. You're always so kind, and never, ever did I once feel like I couldn't come and talk to you. So I really appreciate that. My wife had known you, but I did not.
Yes.
And so I got to know you a little bit, and it was good. You did a great job of getting our district in a really good spot, I thank you for that. Summer rolls around. I always think about, man, teachers, people that have a little bit of a summer break, please take it. Please find time to sleep in till 11 o'clock in the morning. Find time to do a hobby. Because, man, I know that schools, when I was a kid, it seemed like summer was forever.
It was fun. Lasted forever.
I don't know about the teachers. I know I had fun during the summer. My kids have fun during the summer. But it just seems like summer gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So for teachers and everybody else who's involved in taking care of our children in the fall and the spring and the winter, just, I don't know, breathe. Take some time to take in the breath that God gave you. George Strait has a song. He says, "It's not the things that take your breath away." Or wait, it is the things that take your breath away. Yeah. And there's so many items in our life that can take our breath away, and we miss them. So don't miss them. Take time to connect with your kids. Take time to connect with your spouse. Take time to connect with your family, and just enjoy that time, because the work's coming, and it's going to be just as hard next year as it was last year. And sure, you get a little bit more money, but money only takes you so far. What we need to do is, and I would also like to, he left, Mr. Tackett, but he was absolutely right. I hear about infighting among teachers and all that kind of stuff, and it just breaks my heart. We're all in this for the same thing. And up here, every one of us are in here for the kids. We want to see our children succeed. And the only way we're going to do that is if we are all on the same team, fighting in the same direction. So get some rest and be ready to come fight in the right way.
Thank you.
Law conference is great.
Mr. Sanchez.
I think what you're looking for is it's not just about breathing in and out. It's about the
there you go.
moments
Give me 5.
that take your breath away.
It's
I'm
a
a
good
George Strait
song.
fan.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a really good song.
I sung it once, but I have literal problems. I have literary.
Anyway, I'm going to be the third one that tells Mrs. Sanchez thank you for everything that you've done. I know that when that decision was made 17 months ago, it's a game changer, and I know it was for you. I mean, it, coming from an assistant superintendent and then ended up as an assistant principal at Roswell High to say, hey, we need you to take the helm and lead the ship here. I know that could be difficult, and at that time it was a big change, and I just want to thank you for your grace and how you handled that, because it was just a different time, and it was a game-changing time. So thank you for steering the ship in the right direction and keeping it there.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. With that too, I think I want to talk about the law conference just a little bit too. On the board communications, we had bilingual on there, but as Mrs. Sanchez stated earlier, that'll be handled next meeting. So thank you for addressing that and bringing that to attention, and we'll take care of that.
You're welcome.
So just kind of follow up, guys, on this presentation that we had, and I want to go back to that conference. I want to touch on one more thing that we didn't talk about, and it was dealing with security for your schools, and what does that mean, and watching your kids and just being active. And I think the one thing that I kind of took away from that is we always don't want to look for the way, to keep people out, or how do we stop it from happening? Because as we know, if somebody really has it in their head that they want to come and do some harm, they're going to get there somehow. But yes, we can slow them down. We can put in barriers. We can do this and this. We can do this. But I think the takeaway that I got was what'll deter that most of the time is involvement. And it's teachers being involved with these kids every day. When you have the kid that something's not right, or you're seeing an issue, is being involved with that kid, asking them questions, talking to them. The same thing with your community, being involved with your community, so those members of the community might think twice about doing something bad also. So what I really got was we need to be involved with every single kid, every single day. Just a teacher talking to somebody and actually saying, is something bothering you? Or, hey, do you need to talk? Let's go for a walk. That could change somebody's decision on doing some harm to our school. The same thing with our community members and members of the community, adults in the community, working with our police department. Making sure that we have a game plan. So besides looking at the way to counteract this and the knee-jerk reaction, I think the takeaway was is we have to be involved. And not only that, educating our teachers and the people that are in our classroom, not just the teachers. You're talking cafeteria staff, EAs, librarians, on what do you need to do every day to be involved with these kids, and then if something happens, what do you do? Everybody has a plan. So, you know, Dr. McElroy, when she comes on board, that's probably gonna be one of the first things that I'm gonna ask is, how are we getting our teachers involved? How are we getting our cafeteria staff involved? How are we talking to these kids and making sure that they're okay, so they know that somebody cares, and that can change somebody's life. That can change a bad decision. Is just knowing that somebody actually cares for them, and that might just be asking the question, "How was your day?" You know, and just being involved. So that was my takeaway from that conference. That's something that I'm going to hold, and that's something I'm gonna keep pressing on. Is how are we getting there? Are we getting there? So anyway, it was a great conference, and appreciate it. It was a good time. And Dr. McElroy, congratulations, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Okay, to close, I will start with the law conference myself. I attended the law conference too, and let me tell you, this is the first time I've ever been to the law conference where every session was guided by the safety of our students. It's usually you pick and choose the breakout sessions you want to attend that address different areas. The entire conference, the school law conference this time, was dedicated to school safety. And I really, really, really want to recognize the NMSBA for, they're the ones that put on the law conference. And I am a board of director. I'm secretary for Region 6, so I'm a board of director. And when I looked at the agenda, that making our schools safe, that every single breakout session was addressed, it really, I couldn't have been happier. I wanted to come. And the first session I went to was making your schools more secure. And it was a carryover from the general session, and then every session after that addressed either hazing, changing the culture of your school, how do we secure our schools, just everything that made schools safe. So I really appreciated my board members, Mr. Sanchez, like you said, everybody that attended, thank you. Great information. During our board of directors meeting and during the luncheon at the law conference, it was announced our recipients of our 2018 scholarship. And from Region 6, we had 3 great applicants that won. And it was Raquel from Treviso, I believe from Dexter. We had Kobe Gutierrez from Lovington, and Eden Wiggins from Roswell. I'm not, first time I can remember having one from Roswell, but I'm not announcing. It's already public, everybody. It's already public. It's out there on the website. So I really want to congratulate Ms. Wiggins and her job and putting forth that application. Great job. So anyway, that's our conference, and I'm glad I got to attend. The next thing I would like to address is I would like to thank Ms. Sanchez. Typically, I write out a speech. I'm a speech writer. I want everything in black and white so I can read, because I feel more comfortable that way, because I am a English language arts teacher, or was, plus physical education. I coached and many other things. But Ms. Sanchez, I want to tell you, it's been a pleasure working with you these last 17 months. I really appreciate when you said yes, you stepped up to the plate. 17 months ago, we had a train wreck, and we needed somebody that knew our district that could come in and take charge and get us on the path, leading us in the right direction. I knew Ms. Sanchez had done it before. She had been interim before, and I was more than confident that would happen again. I want to thank you for your leadership. I think you did an excellent job in moving us in the right direction, and I couldn't be more proud. I've known Ms. Sanchez for many, many, many years. She worked for me, I worked for her, and now she's working for me again. So I just really thank you from the bottom of my heart, everything that you've done for this district and your leadership. And I look forward to working with you in a different capacity. I know you'll achieve great things in your leadership as we move forward. So I can't wait to see what that is and what Dr. McElroy has in store. So having said that, and I'm the last, there are committee reports, and I don't know if any of us have attended committees that we need to speak about. I know my last committee was 7350 on school booster clubs. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. And it went very well, and I think we're going to look at going with policy review and the board policy that's in policy review that 69 other districts have. So having said that, I was really pleased that the group voted or was all in favor of doing that. So we'll see where that takes us. And having said that, that concludes committee reports and the end of the agenda. So anything else, board members, for the good? Done? May I have a motion to end the board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sanchez made the motion and Mr. Edwards second.
Roll call.
Roll call, Ms. Whitcamp. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ellen Getty?
Yep.
Dr. Kathleen Pittman?
Yes.
Ruben Sanchez?
Yes.
Autumn Bird?
Yes.
Second. Okay, James,
It
now you
is,
can go.
it is now 8:17 and the board meeting is concluded.